Good evening, DJ Glenn. How are you?
Hello, Miss Legs. I am very well. How are you?
I am utterly fabulous on the eve of Winter Pride Gran Canaria 2024.
I can't believe we're actually talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, we started this podcast in May.
Uh-huh.
And you were talking about Winter Pride.
Yep.
And here we are. You're on the very cusp of it.
And my suitcases are packed.
Oh, so jealous. So
I
jealous.
know.
So
And this
jealous.
time we're flying with EasyJet.
Oh, this
Not
is a turn up.
Jet 2. This is a turn up for the books.
Now, did you get your normal seat?
I did.
29F.
29F.
Ah, so close. So close.
God damn it. God damn it. Here, by the way, Buster, what's that I see on your face?
Oh, what are you talking about? My caterpillar?
That's not a caterpillar.
It's a slug.
It's a rodent.
Yes, I have. You'll notice that my facial expression, or my face, you'll notice that I am wearing a moustache.
A moustache?
A moustache. Yes, for the very first time, I am doing Movember.
Good for you.
For people who don't know, Movember is basically I'm raising funds to help raise awareness this Movember. So it's basically about supporting men in general. So
Yes.
out there, the dads, the brothers, the sons, mates in our lives, your chosen family. Pretty much we're raising awareness for men's mental health.
Brilliant.
Including things like cancers and so on as well, and really just raising awareness about that. So yes, for the very first time, I'm sporting a moustache.
Wow.
My husband has been telling me all weekend that I look like a loan shark. So I've been sort of walking up behind people going,
do you know who you look
owe me
like?
some money.
Glenn,
Yes.
I hate to tell you this.
Right.
Do you know who you look like?
No. Away pish.
Can you play the piano? Can you?
I can play the keyboard. 4 fingers as well.
Musically challenged.
Anyway, so
Okay.
yes, I am doing Movember.
Brilliant.
For the
So
very
proud
first
of you,
time. So
honey.
I've shaved my beard. I'm sporting a mustache. I'm going to see how big it can get it.
Now tell me this, see if our listeners, hi listeners, decide they want to contribute, no matter how small it is. How do they go about doing that?
I will put the link in the very description of this episode.
Oh, lovely.
So people can go ahead there and donate. Of course, Movember isn't just for the month of November. You know,
No.
really, it is about raising awareness, and we should do that all year round. But
Aye.
I'm doing my bit this year for the very first time. So yes, I'll put that in the description just to make it really simple.
Yeah.
If not, you can also find it on our socials as well. Head on over to Drags to Riches, the G&T Pod, my own personal Facebook, if we're friends on Facebook. If not, send me a friend request. I'll make it public actually. So it's Glenn Marshall Adams on Facebook. You'll find the link
Aye.
there. And you can actually donate directly through Facebook as well.
Oh,
which is
good.
very good.
Well, if you
so
send it to me, I'll put it on my page.
thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Much appreciated. So here, enough about me and my official hair.
Well,
What have you been up to?
didn't we have a night last week?
Oh no, remind me, because that feels like years ago, and I'm just back from Edinburgh and I'm really suffering.
I know, ladies and gentlemen, he's so Scottish.
Oh, I remember.
How could you forget?
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Fine. I know where you're going with this.
Let's get out more. Let's go and do things. Let's go and
I
see
know,
things.
I know.
Let's go
I
and
know. Honestly, you've no idea. I'm literally, Tina, I got
Brain
home
dead?
I am brain dead. I genuinely am. I got home from Edinburgh yesterday. We were away seeing the one and only, the legendary, the People's Princess.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Princess Diana, the People's Princess, because she's the true People's Princess. But as the Daily Mail has described her, the People's Princess, the one, the only, Jane McDonald.
River Deep, Mountain High.
The Queen of the Cruise. So we went and seen her in Edinburgh, and I went on Thursday morning.
Wow.
And I didn't see Jane until Saturday night, but you know I like a drink, and I was
You
away
do.
with a group of 8 of us, and well, the alcohol was flowing all weekend.
sure it
so
was.
I've got a brain like mashed potato right now. I got home last night at about 6:30. We came in, ordered a Domino's, and at 10 to 8, I was out for the count, and that was me the whole way through to 5 a.m. this morning.
Wow.
Slept
You
for
needed
9
it.
hours. I
9
was
hours.
like definitely feeling my age.
And then you had to go in the office.
And then I had to go into the office with work. But yes, anyway. So yes, and I remember.
Good, thank God. Starting to panic. I was like, did I go there by myself? Where were we?
Well, we were away last week, and we might have alluded to this on our previous episode. We were away indeed to go and see a psychic medium.
Yes.
Now, first of all, we have to stress it wasn't a one-on-one.
No.
We went to one of those psychic medium shows, primarily because we're both shy of a few bobs. If you want to give us 20p, that would be great. We can't really afford a one-on-one medium reading. But no, we thought we would go. We went with friends, and of course we went with my husband as well. You went with your best friend Kathy and her fella Jake, and of course we took Gary as well. So we went along to Newton Arts.
We did. And oh my word. First of all, we actually parked in the wrong street. And that should have been a sign. And then we walked it round to the front. And what was really strange, that's the first time, and I grew up with Kathy, in my life she has ever been early and there before I was.
I mean, we were there bang on 7:30, I have to say, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were maybe 1 minute late.
And do you know something? I missed out on his question because I didn't realise the psychic medium was taking the tickets at the door, and he was reading everybody. And it was only afterwards Jake said to me, "Did you not hear what he said to you?" And I said no. And he looked at me and said, "Are you the sixth child?"
He did.
As in say, I didn't hear him say that to me.
I think when Gary walked in, he said, "Did you lose somebody within the last 4 months?"
Yeah.
No, we didn't. We couldn't think of anybody. And I was just like, nope. Because I need to stress, first of all, we need to tell you, the medium we went to see was a gentleman by the name of Michael Henry. Michael Henry Medium. And he was doing a bit of a tour all around Ireland. The one and only stop in the north was Newton Arts, bizarrely. Out of all the towns and cities he could have went to, he went to Newton Arts. But he is self-styled, self-identified as the seventh son. Now, I had to ask, what does the seventh son actually mean? And what happened to the other six? The other six sons, which I was swiftly informed that the seventh son is sort of a terminology they use of higher beings and about psychics and so on.
Do you ever hear in bingo, lucky number 7?
Yes.
That one.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Yeah. Right, okay. He was self-rated 5 stars on his wee pop-up stand as well.
That's right.
So that's, of course, the reason why we're like, take our money. He's rated 5 stars.
Yes.
But yeah, so he met us at the door.
He did. And he was right when he said to me, "Are you the sick child?" But I never heard him. So and then he kept kind of sort of could feel him looking at me. And I just looked back at him, and I don't know why I said this. And I said, "I'm going to win the Euro lottery." So maybe in a way I was defending what he had already kind of picked up on.
But as I mentioned in the previous episode, by the way, that was very unique because he wouldn't have known who you were. So because all of the tickets, of course, were in my name, and we didn't advertise it on Facebook.
No, we didn't.
And the podcast that we put out last week, we recorded an hour before we left.
That's right.
And it didn't go out until the Wednesday.
Yeah.
So again, he was oddly specific in that he would have had to have known you were going to be able to say that.
Yeah. He would have read something, and to pick number 6, how would he have known that there were 6 children?
Yeah.
And I was the youngest. You could have been 6 children and I could have been the 4th. You know, that way. I went in with a lot of optimism, first of all. And I went in with the hope secretly that my daddy would come through.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that I was disappointed in because I kind of wanted that interaction just with me. And although the room was full of so many different types of people. There was young, there was old, middle-aged, male, female. And he actually commented on the amount of male members in the audience. And I thought, wow, because years ago it was just women. Yeah. Men didn't really care. So there was a lot of guys there, you know. And I kind of regret sitting at the front.
Okay.
And if I was to go and see another medium, I would rather be at the back.
So, you know, you were quite skeptical.
Absolutely.
So I find it interesting that you sort of had said secretly you were hoping your dad would come through.
Yeah,
but even as a skeptic, do you think, you know, was rational side of your brain sort of saying to you, well, I'm a skeptic, therefore it's probably unlikely, but actually secretly I was sort of like
absolutely
hoping.
I was sitting thinking to myself, I hope he picks me. I hope because as it started, there was just that silence that fell. But what I kept noticing was he kept going up on his tippy toes, up on his tippy toes, up on his tippy toes. And there's certain things you do as an entertainer when you're on stage and you're in front of everybody. Some people twiddle their fingers, some people play with an earring, some people point a lot. And his thing is up on his toes, up on his toes, up on his toes. So I think that's a nervous thing when you're reading the room and you're a psychic, because these people want you to speak to them and you need to stand up. I have a message for you. Someone's coming through.
But you would get this, right? So you would know what it's like coming out on stage.
Absolutely.
To potentially a cold room.
Yep.
You know, where these people have just come in and sat down. So he did this wee bit of an intro and he sort of said, this is how it kind of works. If you've never been to a medium before, this is what you can expect.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really stood out was that he did go out of his way to try and be a bit of an entertainer.
He was. There was jokes and one-liners. And
because Gary, who as I should point out, I am a skeptic. I'm still a skeptic. You know, I'm looking for the science to back up the claims.
Yep.
That's just my personality type. But my husband is, you know, is very much a believer, you know, that people will try and reach out, and that's nice to have that thought, you know, and so on. But one of the things that one of the things that Gary had said to me is that he had been recently to see Psychic Sally.
Right.
And I don't know if people remember Psychic Sally. She was really big in the early noughties.
That's right.
In the early noughties. And
then
Sally Morgan was her.
She lost all her weight.
And she lost all her weight. And then, you know, things that I only imagine her shows kind of dried up a bit. There was a bit of controversy with apparently planting people. And again, I'm just replaying what I remember of that whole situation. But Gary had went to see her very recently, and this is the point. And he said that her show was very serious.
Yeah.
And going to see something like Michael Henry, he tried to make it not so serious.
He sprinkled a little bit of lightheartedness on it. He never made no promises, you know, and he had asked everybody to kind of sort of gauge the fact that he's only going to go with everyone's aura. And I thought, right, okay. And in my mind, I was thinking, so are you basically saying you're not quite sure if this is going to work?
Yeah.
You know, which made me think, so he's got me thinking already.
Yeah, the skepticism. The skepticism was hanging right out of me.
Yeah. And then the first lady he picked happened to be 3 or 4 people away from us, who was just there.
Same row, yeah.
In the same row. And once he started... And he was so on point. And as he began to tell her the story of this gentleman who was behind her, who he was, why he passed, which number of child she was, and I got more fascinated because he was able to pinpoint illnesses of people who are her family, her siblings, and she was shocked.
Yeah.
As was, because you could hear the crowd going, wow.
Yeah.
You know.
There was actually, you're absolutely, that's actually something that you just knew saying that there was audible gasps.
Yeah.
I remember when there were specific details coming out, people were like, oh, you know, and we heard that whispering and so on.
How would he know that? How does he know that?
Yeah.
And illnesses, and where exactly this illness was be, like in the tummy and in the stomach. And she kept looking at that person she was with, thinking, oh my God.
Scarily accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I just genuinely thought to myself, right, this is going to be good. You know what I mean? So I kind of sort of thought to myself, Fred, I'll let this go because we've only just started the night.
Yeah.
And I was then very curious. My skepticism changed to curiosity.
Okay.
Let's see if you can keep this going, because then when he told the lady all of the details, she sat down completely and utterly like gasping.
Yeah.
Looking at her friend, maybe it was her daughter, her sister, and thinking, oh my God, how do you know? How do you know? And because we were so close to her, you could kind of feel that from her.
Yeah, you see, my feeling during that was, all I could think of was, she must be a plant.
Did you think, is that?
I kind of just, because as you said, it was scarily accurate. And again, you can never really be too sure with these things, you know, that could, and again, I am a skeptic, and I'm just, you know, I'm going to remind you of that. And I am really trying to make a balanced podcast episode with you because I don't want to be the one that's always sort of pooping on it. But with these kind of people though, there is always that opportunity for them to be part of the act. Do you know what I'm saying? But
well, yes, there is. But I think why he picked Newton Ards was because I think in Belfast people would have been too cheeky.
You think?
Yeah.
I think to be fair, I think the ones in Ards did all right. Like, to be fair.
Well, I think, you know what? And it was a lovely old style hall, you know, and I like those kind of venues. I love those kind of venues because you can kind of smell the history a bit when you walk in. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously been a long time from they've been in there doing something. And I was glad of, you know, that we were at the front, but I could feel myself going, if we were at the back, we would see and feel everything.
But I don't know necessarily, and the only reason I'm going to say that is because when he was given a reading to the lady at the second row to the left of us, he was standing at the back of the room. Yeah. So he was moving about quite a bit. So I don't know whether or not we would have got a different experience. Perhaps maybe we just would have turned around a lot less, you know, that way.
No, I guess so. But you know what? When he started getting names and he got them completely and utterly correct, people's names and who they were and how they passed and accidents that had happened, and when he pinpointed almost everyone, you know, I thought, wow. You know, he went through them meticulously.
There was one thing, and I think I spoke to you about it after. There was one thing that stood out for me that he said was, I'm going to be very specific here. Yeah. And then went, did he die in like June, July or August? Yeah. And I was like, well, I have a different understanding of what specific really means, you know?
Yeah, whereas the lady said, well, he died on the 12th of June, I thought, that wasn't really specific.
Yeah.
You know, he went for 3 months there, and because he got the first one right, I think if he had said, did he die, and it was in June he passed? Yeah. You know, and she would have went, I think that would have been more specific.
I don't know, just in that instance, the sort of the claim didn't back up the fact. Do you know what I mean?
That was only just the one.
That was only the one.
That was only the one.
As I've said already.
Yeah. All them wee spirits were flying around them room, bamboozling that pure psychic medium. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Here, tell me this. Did you notice any patterns in the messages?
With the exception that it were all from people who had passed.
Don't you mock the dead.
I am not mocking the dead.
You are. Watch it.
I didn't. I mean, I was particularly looking out for things. Yeah. Because, you know, I have a little bit of an understanding of how some psychic mediums can be debunked. Right. You know, in certain situations, this has been done time and time again. There's mentalists like Darren Brown who have went on Channel 4, and again, you can look these all up on all 4 on Catch Up. He talks about, you know, certain tactics that are used. So I was looking out for those. Right. But there wasn't really any patterns that I noticed. But then again, I'm not a mentalist, so I wouldn't really know what to look for. Yeah. You know, I don't have that sort of the ability to sort of identify it, you know. What
I noticed was no matter who he got to stand up, nobody gave any information. They all said either yes or no. Nobody elaborated on any of their stories, whether it was male or female, or, you know, but he was spot on.
There was actually, now that you've said that, just based on what you've just said, there was one thing I noticed.
Okay.
He after every time he give a fact, he would say, do you understand?
Do you understand?
That for me was that phraseology. And again, I'm just trying to keep it balanced, but that phraseology, in my opinion, is almost positive confirmation. It's like using terminology like you will though, won't you? You are though, aren't you? It's kind of like
you will say yes.
You feel like compelled to say yes, because the question he's asking is, do you understand? And the person is going to say, yes, I've understood the question. That's the way I was thinking about it. So that would be the only kind of pattern.
That he said that every single time after he'd done a reading, you know. And I kind of noticed that was after every time he got something right. Yeah. And, you know, did have to fish a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, but I do find that he was very, very on point with, I would say, 97% of it. There was a few things he did get wrong.
Yeah.
But he did bring it round again, which was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The lady who was stood up over at the other side of us to our left, and she was like, no. And then he said to her, but you were going to bring something with you and it was too big and it was too heavy and you left it on the table. And she went, oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that to me was like, wow, how did you know that? How did you bring that round? So it was a piece of memorabilia that she obviously puts somewhere where she passes it all the time.
Yeah.
And she gets a kind of sort of a satisfying, you know, a feeling, a sense of belonging, a sense of, you know, something. And I thought, oh my goodness, because the other lady, remember the two girls, the two ladies he made stand up?
Is this the two ladies behind us?
Yes.
Tina. Oh, Tina.
Wow. Because one got the reading, but he made her friend stand up because she was a real character. And he read her aura and then read her best friend's aura.
I actually think they were sisters, were they not?
No, they were best friends.
Is this not the blonde lady?
Yeah. And he said, God, she's a queer character because I could tell you what, you drove the whole way here. And the lady was like, yes. And she said, and she was mouthy.
They were to the left of us.
They were to the left of us.
Ah, sorry, hon. Yes, I've got
and
more.
then they were killing themselves laughing. And he said to her, what does the number 14 mean to you? And she said, we've been best friends since they were 14.
Yeah. That was oddly specific now, I have to say.
Then when he done the reading and he was able to talk about the daddy and made the big character friend sit down, he done the reading for the girl and he said, as a matter of fact, you carry his photo with you everywhere you go. And she took it out of her pocket and she said, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, being that specific. And she was basically they were the second or third reading after the lady who was close to us in the front row.
Yeah.
Which more and more it went on.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, wow. But what I didn't like was it was £2 for a cup of tea in a thimble and a custard cream.
Yeah.
Talk about the cost of living. I was like, are you joking me? The cups are over there. See, when I turned around, I had to screw my eyes up really tight to find the cups. They were tiny. I was like, where'd you get them wee cups? My God, you get them out of...
even impact the mediumship.
You get them out of the Barbie house?
But just talking about couples, there were two sisters behind us to the right hand side.
That's right.
And now they were the characters of the night for me. I don't know about you, but they definitely were for me. And one of them was the older sister. Yeah. And she was there for the dad. And when he was doing the reading, she had this kind of weird sort of... when she was giving her answers were kind of long and drawn out. It was like... Yeah. Aka did die.
Yeah, that's right.
And even that in itself was funny because it's, you know, everybody else was like, yes, She was like, okay. And then when he got something wrong, she went, no, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. She was really funny. She did elaborate on her answer. She didn't just say no. She was really, no, I don't think that's right. No, so I don't. But hold on a minute. And then she started to double back on what she... Oh, no, hold on. No, you're right. And everybody started giggling and laughing, which brought a sense of relief. Because she wasn't really... I think she was shocked because he was right. And then because he was reading, there was two came through, the actual mummy and the daddy, you know, for each of them. I think that maybe bamboozled her a wee bit.
And for the sister, this was the funniest part of it all for me. The message came through at no more tattoos. Do you remember?
That's right.
And the big sister went, and she didn't even have the microphone, but all you heard was, you didn't tell me you had tattoos.
That's right. Oh my God. Because it was like in the background at the time it came.
There were characters.
They were hilariously funny. What was your favourite bit about the psychic medium? What did you like the most?
I think I was entertained for somebody that's, you know, that for somebody that's skeptic. There were things that were funny. There was, you know, comments like Tricky Ricky with the big
Yeah.
Those kind of, I mean, some of them are probably a little bit inappropriate, given the sort of the nature of the show.
When he made the joke about the
electrician,
guy who had passed and he was electrocuted.
Yeah.
And then he done 2 readings on down, and he said, well, there's no need to go and look for an electrician.
Yeah. There were things like that. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but sometimes you just say stuff that comes into your head.
I've said the wrong thing a few times.
Yeah.
I say the wrong thing a lot of times. I say the wrong thing all the time. But for me, I also noticed, I'm glad I remember this, he made a fortune with them ballots.
You're not wrong.
What?
What was it? It was £5 for one strip.
Yeah.
Or £20 for 8.
Yeah.
Wasn't that it?
Uh-huh.
Now, naturally, anybody in their right mind is going to go, the best value that I can get here
is £20 worth.
£20.
Like Kathy.
But it was to win
a free reading
at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a massive queue right round the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we reckon he must have earned £1,000. 2,000 easy.
Yeah, because he went and got 2 extra books of ballots.
Wow.
And there was no other staff, only just the medium and we Adam, who he kept saying, by the way, Adam is not my son.
No, we laugh at that.
We laughed
I was
so
like,
hard.
What do you reckon? I think what's happened there is that some dear has been up to him and went, "Oh, Adam, your dad's just lovely." I think they're an item personally.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It actually added another level of suspicion and skepticism, and kind of made me think, they can't really say if they are, because I would imagine a lot of people would go, "Oh, that's creepy."
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But whatever it is they've got going, they do it really well. And you can tell Adam's all over it, because he's obviously into his
tech.
Uh-huh. And
he's the brains of the operation.
Yes. I know somebody like that as well. But at the same time, it didn't matter, because what it also told me was that, not only was I found him super professional, and having the young tech guy there, and that wee boy was then behind the counter doing the teas and the sandwiches and the biscuits, so he was doing all the ballots, but they had it all in their hands.
Yeah.
And then everybody got outside for a wee cigarette, a wee vape, a wee chat, a wee bit of smoky fresh air, and then came back inside. And I never heard one person say a negative word when I was outside.
Oh, right, okay.
Everybody was like, oh my God, did you hear him? And I think it was because he was so specific. What I also noticed about him was he spoke beautifully. Mm-hmm. So he did. I think it's about time we took a break.
I think you're right. We'll be right back after this.
See you soon. So listeners, if you'd like to support our podcast, then please consider joining us on Patreon. For the cost of a drink per month, you can listen to episodes early, access exclusive digital content, and get discounts to G&T shows. Membership tiers start from free, with paid memberships start at £3, £4 and £5.50 each per month, and with each tier offering increased benefits. Your support helps us, keeps the conversations flowing. Join us at www.patreon.com/GNTpod.
Yes, and whilst we're also on the scrounge, don't forget to head on over to wherever you get your podcasts and rate our show 5 stars. Won't accept anything less.
Nope.
We will hunt you down.
I will find you.
We will find you. And we will hold your finger over the 5-star.
Yes.
5-star button if you do anything less than 5-star. Thank you for those people that have already left very kind reviews on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts. Love reading your reviews. It really helps us get noticed, and it also means that we can keep the conversation going. So thank you. Well, welcome back.
Hiya, honey.
So we were just talking about our very first outing with the pod.
Yes, Michael Henry, if you hear this, can we just let you know through the vibe, through the highway, interstate connections that I was a psychic medium virgin. I was, not now, not anymore. But tell me this, here's a good question. Would you go back?
Well, here's the thing that he said. First of all, he did offer everybody in the show, do you remember?
Aye.
Half price tickets. And he said, I'd love to come back to Newton Ards and I'll send you all out an email for half price tickets.
I never got an email.
I don't think he sent it, but
No, he
I think
didn't.
he would need to book it before sending it out, do you know, that way. But I'm only saying that because one of the things that he did say was, you know, some people here will have been to many of my shows. So I think people may follow him around.
Yes.
I'm not saying that it's the same people that got readings. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I think that people go to a lot of those shows with the view that the more times they go, the more likely it is that they'll get a reading.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I would go back. I don't know if I'd pay the same money that we paid, first of all.
Yeah, true.
As you said, you know, we probably could have got it for a lot less, and we probably could possibly have got better
what I'm like,
views.
love. You know what I'm like. I like a bit of quality.
I know, love. I know. But I don't know is the answer. The jury is still out, just because I didn't really feel that there was anything earth-shattering. And perhaps maybe that's because, you know, touch wood, I'm very fortunate, Tina, and, you know, certainly within my immediate family, you know, with maybe the exception of a couple of grandparents, you know, most of my family are still with me, you know, that way.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I miss them dearly, but I would never have went there expecting to hear from
anything.
them. Do you know that way? Maybe
Yeah.
it's just my way of thinking. I might feel different about that if it were perhaps maybe say a brother or a sister or, you know, my mum or whatever. I don't know is the answer. And that's the long protracted way of me saying I don't know.
Okay. So the answer is no. So Jake, who came with us, Kathy's partner, had said today, because we're all travelling tomorrow to Gran Canaria. Did I say? Did I tell you?
I mean, you might have mentioned
Might have mentioned it. Okay, we're going to Gran Canaria tomorrow.
Winter Pride.
He would love to go back.
Okay.
Because he's still even more sceptical now, just to see if it's exactly the same. Or is it any different? Are the readings different? Mm-hmm. Is he as specific? Does he pinpoint? Mm-hmm. And it made me curious to think, do you know what? I think you're right. I would love to go back. Not for that reason, but secretly also that if a reading came through, someone came through and they wanted to connect with me as well, you know, I wouldn't go back with a sense of negativity. Like, you know, I need to know, I want to see, like, he has to prove something to me. He doesn't.
Yeah.
I just found him very, very entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, I really did. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Here, let me ask you this. How do you think people in the audience responded to the messages?
Yeah, that's... So I guess this is where I really struggle with these things, right? Because I can see, based on just that show, I can see how people might have found comfort in those messages, and people were quite emotive at some points, and people were quite willing to tell their stories and so on. So I think it was received well. I think with the, you know, the obvious people being quite upset because maybe they're sort of, you know, they're delighted that someone's came through, or you know, that they find a connection with somebody who's passed and they're getting some sense of comfort from that. Yeah, do you know, that way. But yeah,
as I was saying earlier, people didn't really want to elaborate. I think they were very guarded, because also what you're doing is you're bearing your pain. You're suffering, you're what you've been through. But the one reason why a lot of people, mostly everybody who was there, was because they wanted a connection. And I think the majority of people who stood up, first of all, when you stand up in a crowded room full of strangers who you don't know and you've never seen before, number one, you become intimidated. Number two, your barriers are up. Number three, you have to answer on a microphone. Yeah. And for people who are not used to that, you know, all of a sudden everybody can hear you and you become very, very self-aware. Yeah. You know?
Well, actually, that's very funny that you say that. So as you do when after the show the next day, I was chatting to some people in work. And again, in the interest of trying to strike balance, there's this sort of technique that is used called cold reading.
Right.
And this is where Darren Brown, the mentalist, has put out some of those debunked theories.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's possible that he was doing cold reading? And I'll explain to you what that is. So cold reading typically involves gathering information from a person without knowledge. So you don't know that they're gathering information from you. So what they do is they rely on subtle cues such as your body language, your age, your clothing. They make a lot of broad and open-ended statements. So for example, I sense a loss in your life.
Yeah.
And based on sort of how you react to those statements, they then get to sort of really start to understand or to start to, what's the word I'm looking for? They're starting to gauge your reaction, and then they can sort of refine what they're going to say to you based on
your answers,
your kind of body language almost, you know, like simple things like if he throws something out there and you can relate to it, you're most likely to lean in because you're interested.
Yeah.
But they're very small, subtle. They're very small and subtle cues.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're very talented in being able to read those things, that's why they call it cold reading.
Right, okay.
Do you feel that perhaps he could have been doing that?
In a way, yes. But I think he's also a master of his craft. And I think, you know, when you've been doing something for a very long time like that with a microphone, you learn your do's and your don'ts, your yeses and your no's. And as you go along, there's times when you can use your no's to your best advantage as well as you can use your yeses. And it's learning how to read a crowd and absorb that energy. Okay. And I think he did that pretty well.
Okay. I mean, if you combine reading people's non-verbal cues just by simple twitches and so on, and you combine that with something that's called the Forer effect, which is people would tend to accept vague statements or just statements in general as being highly accurate because they believe that the information is tailored to them. Yeah. So an example of that might be you had a dream 3 nights ago. You might go, yeah, I did. Well, there's a 50-50 chance that people dream. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So by throwing statements out there, people could go, oh, I've had a dream. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago, but because he said 3 nights ago, you're more likely to actually agree to it. It's also called the personal validation fallacy. Yeah. Which is things like astrologers, like reading your stars. Those kind of, they're all very kind of vague because they're designed for you to sort of go, oh yeah, that totally applies to me. Yeah. There's another thing called Barnum statements, and this is The Greatest Showman, P.T. Barnum. He was renowned for using statements which again can be universally interpreted. So using statements such as, you have an unresolved issue with a family member. Now, again,
who doesn't?
Do you know? So do you get what I'm saying? So that's kind of where my skepticism comes from. Yeah. And I guess until there is proven facts, until it happens to me personally, I'll always be, I guess, a little bit skeptical in that, just because I've heard of these sort of different theories. Yeah. Which for my brain, for me personally, I could probably accept. Because I don't know, I can accept the supposed science. Maybe I trust science too much. Maybe that's it.
I think you do actually, but I think you have to go in with an open mind as well. You're entitled. Everybody's entitled to your skepticism as you are an opinion, and you're also entitled to be a believer or a non-believer, or you can be middle of the road. But it certainly hasn't made me go, I want to go to the next one. I want to go and see one. You know what? I walked away from it that night, and I'll tell you why I felt this way, because there was a girl there, a friend of mine, and Joanne and her friend, they drove from Downpatrick. Yeah. So I just happened to turn around to the left, and she had been looking at me, and she waved and I waved back to her. Very successful financial independent broker. So when she walked in, like we did after us, he said to her, "You're a teacher?" And she went, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "No, I'm a finance independent broker." And then he turned to her friend and said, "Oh, okay, but you're a hairdresser." And her friend said, "Yes." And this was when we were walking to the car. Remember those 2 girls I was talking to? And the hairdresser said to me, but tell Tina what it is you do now. She teaches finance.
Okay, so she was a teacher.
She was a teacher.
Right, okay.
And I said to her, why did you say no? And she said, I don't know.
Okay.
I said, well, he said to me, you're the sick child. I just looked at him and said, I'm going to win the Euro lottery.
Yeah.
And I think it was like, okay, you got that one right. I'm going to get this one right. So I was manifesting the truth.
But do you know what's interesting though? But do you see, even by divulging that piece of information,
Yeah.
that can tell people bits about you without you even realizing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, look, but if it's each to their own, you should say,
completely.
There are instances, and I'm sure, and as I said already, I'm sure people took a degree of warmth and,
of course,
leaving there feeling maybe a little bit more at peace with maybe a loved one who they didn't maybe get the chance to say goodbye to, and ethically, whether it's right or wrong, depending upon your viewpoint.
Yeah.
If your daddy was to come through, you know, and I know this is a hypothetical, and you've already explained that didn't happen, and you were maybe a little bit disappointed that it didn't. But could you maybe think about how that would have made you feel as a non-believer going in, that way?
It's not that I'm a non-believer. Skeptic. But I'll tell you what did happen a number of years ago. When my father passed in 2007, in 2008, I had this reoccurring dream 3 nights in a row. And on the third morning, I got into my Jeep. I went and collected my wee nephew and my wee niece. He was 4, she was 3. And I drove to Ballyhornan, where I'd never been before in my life. And it was dark and it was dull and it was grey. Went into the wee pub, sat and got a couple of wee fizzy drinks. And when I got up to leave to pay, the fella said to me, we don't have cards. Don't use them. No. It's cash only. And I said to him, I'm really sorry, I don't have cash. He said to me, it's all right, you'll be back. Which was a strange thing to say. So I said to him, well, thank you very much, but I was just about to turn around and go home. And I said to him, is there a caravan park around here? And he said this, you go down that wee road there, drive right on down. When you go past the castle, that was in my dream. He said, you keep on going. And I said, it's to the left. And he went, yes.
Wow.
So put my nephew, he was in the front, seatbelt, niece in the back, drove down. And as we were driving down that road, that was the road I was on in my dream. That was all I could see, was all these big reeds and fences. And I looked at my nephew and I said, you're not going to understand me, Ethan, but you're in my dream. And we drove right round, drove into the caravan park, and lo and behold, there was the caravan in my dream.
Wow.
And Mummy and I bought it.
Wow. Is this the caravan that your mummy's got now?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
And I think that was my daddy coming through to me in my dreams, because we had a big caravan in Drogheda for many, 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 many years. And right up until just before my father passed, they lost that big caravan.
Right.
They sold the land to build houses.
Wow.
So they had nowhere to go. And Mummy loves the countryside, fresh air and stuff like that. So in my mind, I was thinking, I wonder, I would love to hear from him and say to me, thank you for following through. Because the same dream 3 nights consecutively is definitely a message to me.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get up, you need to see this. And I'd never been to Ballyhornan before, and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
And I drove, and I got there, and I was like, right, where do you go now? But the funniest thing, the weirdest thing was when that barman said to me, don't worry, he'll be back.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I mean, there's things that we can't explain in the
No.
world, and like science can't explain them.
Nope.
Why do we have intuition? Why do we have that gut feel? The rational part of our brain, particularly me as a scientific person, is trying to explain it away. That's the whole purpose of science, and sometimes you can't.
And Mummy called the caravan, and I didn't know this. She got this placard made. My father's favourite song of all time was Ruby. Oh, Ruby, don't take your love to town. And she got a plaque made. And this is like a few months after Mummy had been in it, and I drove up one day and it had Ruby's dream.
Wow.
And I was like, what made you put that up? And she went, just, Yeah. It was, and I wanted a kind of sort of an inkling for him to say, thank you, or the dream. And I wanted the psychic medium to say to me, what's this about a dream in a caravan?
Mm-hmm.
Or just something. It would have been nice to hear from him, but I can feel my daddy around me all the time.
Oh, that's nice.
Because Mummy's with me and the dog, and I listen. So there's things that dog has done, Thumper, And I've recorded it on video. In broad daylight, he would be sitting barking at the wall. Or Mummy and I would be sitting in the living room, and the next thing he just lifts his head and he just looks real quick.
I've my mum's dogs. We've had situations where my mum's been in a similar situation. But you do what you do, and you sort of you rationally try to explain. Like that's what I'm saying. This is back to my point that I just made is that you're looking for an explanation in something, and you'll take comfort. It's like my husband, like Gary, will tell me that when he sees a white feather, he'll think that that's a close family member that's passed, or when there's a robin that comes to visit you, you'll always look at it and you'll go, "That's a soul. That's the close family member.
That's a soul." Yeah.
So that I get it, and you take comfort where you find it.
Speaking of robins, have you seen the new John Lewis ad?
You sent it to me, and I haven't watched it.
Oh my word!
I was away.
Speaking about robins, you have to watch it.
I will have a look at it. So this has been a really interesting chat.
Hasn't it?
I'm really glad that we done it.
Me too.
So I suppose from our listeners, I'd be really keen to hear whether any of our listeners have in fact been to a medium, and I'd love to hear your stories. So why don't you get in touch? You'll find all of the ways to get in touch within the episode description of this very episode.
Yep.
We'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us via email. You can connect with us on social media. You can send us a message on WhatsApp, send us a voice note. Whatever way you'd like to get in touch, feel free to reach out to us. Share your own personal stories. Or if you've got an idea about a particular topic that you'd like Tina and I to go and explore.
Oh, we'd love to. Send us on an adventure.
Then let's. Last week we asked about adventures for places to eat.
Yes.
I have a list as long as my arm.
No way.
I swear.
You serious?
So, genuinely.
Goody gumdrops.
So I'm going to starve myself now, and you're going to go to the gym 4 times in a day because we're going to need it. We're literally going to be rolling.
We don't have to
ourselves.
eat everything. We don't have to finish it all. It's sampling.
Oh no, I don't like waste.
I know you don't.
Don't like waste.
Well, I bring Gary home a doggy bag. I bring Mummy home a doggy bag.
Are you kidding me? I have to bring him along, Tina.
I know. God's sake.
But look, for whatever the reason, get in touch. We'd love to hear.
Thank you for sending in all the different places to eateries, because what I would love is a place that you and I have never heard.
And there's quite a lot of them.
Wow.
I've never been to.
Goody.
And there's quite a lot of people have recommended. So again, thank you for that. I really look forward to. We'll get that episode when Tina comes back from. I can't remember where did you say you were going again?
Oh, where is it? Gran Canaria.
Yeah.
It's Winter Pride 2024.
Oh, exciting. So
Can
we're nearly
you
at the end.
believe it's almost 2025.
I know.
Need to talk about new hopes, dreams and aspirations for 2025.
We'll save that for a year from now, because
I knew you were going to say it to me. Calm down, Tina.
But listen,
what?
Before we go, because we are pushing for time.
We are, love.
I've got a new segment for you. Do you want to hear what I've called it?
Go on.
So we're going to call it Sip or Skip. And the idea is I have some things that, depending upon the person, some might consider maybe an ick. Some might be, oh no, I don't really mind that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a couple. And then if you've got any examples of when maybe this has happened to you, or you've came across this. So if it's been something that you wouldn't mind, then great. But if it's been an ick, I want to know the details.
Okay.
All right. So I've got a list here, so I'm going to shuffle them.
Pick a card. Any card. Don't tell me what it is. Don't show me.
Okay. So you need to tell me, is this a sip or a skip? So remember, a sip is you don't mind it, or a skip is, oh no God, that's an ick. All right? Okay. So you meet a person and they ask you to pop their spots. Is that a sip or a skip?
Sip.
Really?
Yeah.
Popping spots?
Yeah.
Are you one of these people that go, oh look, there's a whitehead, I'm going to need to...
Not necessarily, but if I was with someone and they asked me to do it, I would do it because it doesn't turn me. Well, having worked in the Royal Victoria Hospital, I seen bones sticking out of bodies.
Okay.
I held limbs in place in intensive care while they were being plastered, and people on life support, and they needed, They needed help, and they needed dressings and stuff.
So you're not
like
grossed
that.
out by spots. Essentially, what you're saying.
A spot.
What about like that Dr. Pimple Popper? Do you ever watch them on like
They're
social
big ones.
medias?
They're massive.
Would you let them really get that size though?
No, that's what I wonder, and I think to myself, I'm going to name a good God.
Someone's walking around with Mount Vesuvius hanging off
Honest
the
to
side
God,
of their head.
You could christen it and get it started in nursery. The size of it. Swear to God.
It's the start of their horns growing.
Bring it to the vet and bring it back to life.
For me, I would probably agree with you. It's probably, I would have a sip if I'm honest. It doesn't gross me out.
No.
It's not really a bit of an ick, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay, here's another one for you.
Go.
A person who claps when the airplane lands. Wait, first of all, are you a person that claps when the airplane lands?
No.
What about when that happens? Does it do you sort of go like...
I get a tremendous sense of relief because I don't like flying, but I'm prepared to do it because I have to. If I want to get, I love traveling and I love getting around. I think it was when I was younger and Ryanair, do you remember they used to do that ridiculous and everybody was like, and clapping. Some people still clap.
Yeah.
I think it's a sign of relief because you've touched the ground, you're on the tarmac, you're safe, you're going to be okay, you've made it this far. But most people I find these days just don't do it.
Yeah, I think it's a bit rare personally.
Yeah.
For me, it's a skip.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a skip.
Why?
Just, I think it's rare. It's like, I get what you're saying, and I never really thought about it, that it might be people are, sort of expressing comfort in some way because they're glad they've just landed, but traveling by air is probably one of the safest things you can do.
Yeah.
You've got more chance of dying in a car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we're all going to the same destination. I would be clapping that I got on the plane and we left on time. Do you know that way?
Yeah.
Rather than actually landing. So that's just my view.
When you start to take off, I always say a silent prayer and bless myself. And then I'm okay once I'm up there.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay.
There's no point in because there's nothing you can do. Once you're up there, you're in God's hands. And I always do it. I take a positive out of it because it's the closest I'm going to get to my daddy until the next time I meet him.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
And the fear leaves me then. And then when we're on the way down, I get a sense of relief. And if I thought it would make a lot of people happy, I would probably do a backflip the whole way up the cabin, if rather than clap. But I'm quite content, sitting there in my wee seat and looking out. I love when you look out. It's like 27 degrees and blue sky, which will be tomorrow.
Actually, it's when you land on the tarmac and you can feel the heat coming through the fuselage.
I love the old dolls when they all stand up and they go, "Oh, mommy, breathe. Do you feel that? Do you feel that? Oh, God, I know if I can stick that. I swear to God. May I tell you something? Swear to God. Oh, my God, she's at door oven. I swear, I feel like I'm in an oven. I feel like I'm in an oven. Oh, mommy, I'm moist."
Right, okay, we're going to shuffle and we'll do a couple more, okay?
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Are you ready? Here we go. They're unnecessarily rude to hospitality staff.
Oh, skip 100%.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to be unnecessarily rude.
It's ridiculous. I think and you know what? I think it's a power trip.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you where I think it comes from. See the Real Housewives of and the entitlement and that I just think it is so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have an issue with someone over something, do it discreetly.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Get up from your table.
Yeah.
You don't need an audience.
Yeah, I agree.
You and I have both worked in hospitality now for quite some time.
Yeah.
And it's always much easier to approach someone and say, "Can I have a wee quiet word with you?" Or even, "Can we chat after this?" If there's something wrong with your drink, go and ask for a different one.
So I'm assuming that what you're saying is a skip for you too.
Big time.
Okay.
But I needed to let that out. I need to get that off my imaginary false chest. So I did. Yeah, here's another one. Are you ready?
Go for it.
They only shower once a week.
Oh, skip. That
Skip.
is no.
Yeah,
no,
skip the Maloo.
No, definitely not.
And have a
Couldn't be
wash.
doing that. Could not be doing that.
Yeah, I can't stand uncleanliness.
If I manage to shower once a day, I am already feeling that I have not showered enough.
Yeah.
Do you know that way? I'm normally
you
2
have
showers in
to.
a day. One when I get up, one before I go to bed. Get all
You
that.
need a boil wash. Everybody needs a boil wash.
Get the daily grime off. Yeah.
Yes, you have to.
God.
I wouldn't feel right
You can't be a gay man in 2024 and
Oh,
not
girl.
shower once a
Absolutely.
day.
You
That's
gotta
just
get your-
madness.
You remember we used to have that, do the shake and vac and
Bring
put
the
the freshness back. Do the shake and vac and put your freshness back. Well, that's me in the morning. That's me. That's sauntering up and down my landing with the bathroom door open and, you know, the shower on and doing my pearly whites and having me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And making my bed. Always make your bed first thing in the morning because that is the president. That sets the precedent
Well, actually,
for the day.
there is some psychology about that.
Yeah.
Um,
You will have a much better day, much more planned, organized day. I think that's what that means.
yeah, it is. It
You
sets
make your
up.
bed,
Yeah, yeah,
set you up for the day,
yeah.
fluff your pillows, straighten your sheets, throw your duvet nice and square, give it a wee pat. Off you go. Bob's your uncle. Pair of Stellies, clutch bag, big hoops, hair and a high ponytail. And hit the cribby.
Well, Tina, that is all we've got time for.
No way.
It is. And, you know, I've enjoyed our wee chat this week.
So have I, love. DJ
just-
Glenn.
Just want to say, have a fabulous holiday.
Thank you, honey.
Be safe.
Always.
We'll probably not have a podcast out next week because it'll be
Don't say that.
Tuesday until you get home.
That's
I
right,
imagine.
love. That's right.
Is it Monday night, Tuesday morning, or is it Tuesday night?
It's Tuesday night, but
Tuesday
it's.
night.
I mean, you're talking by the time I get in the airport, by the time I get home. Plus, I'm dropping Jake and Kathy back home first, and I'm doing the airport run. So I would imagine 8:30, 9 o'clock by the time I get in the door.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to forego for 1 week.
1 week only.
Or maybe we could meet maybe on the Wednesday and put it out on the Thursday or something. How does that sound?
Sounds like a date.
Okay, we'll be a couple of days late next week
Aye.
getting the pod out.
Okay.
But have a fabulous holiday. I hope
Okay.
that you, Jake, and Kathy have a good time. I will not be one bit bitter. And until next time,
Chin chin.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of G&T Sips and Giggles. If you've enjoyed our conversation, then don't forget to share it with your friends, and why not subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Your reviews mean the world to us and really help others find the show, so please take a moment to leave one, but be kind. If you'd like to support the podcast, why not consider joining us on Patreon? For the cost of a drink a month, you can listen to episodes early, access exclusive digital content, and get discounts to upcoming G&T shows. Your support helps us keep the conversation flowing. Cheers, we'll see you next time. Chin chin.